Sometimes an actor's accent can be laughably bad.
Bloody wolves chasing me through some blue inferno.
Sometimes it can be downright impressive.
Whatever, and I'm like, you don't miss me? What am I, your mother?
And sometimes you'd never even notice. But who's been in Hollywood so long they can't remember how they used to speak? Who has never, ever acted using their own voice? And which Spanish-born British actress had even me fooled? Hi, I'm Peter, and you're watching OSSA Movies. And after this video about actors with perfect accents, you'd be forgiven for thinking that there are no Americans left in Hollywood these days. Netflix, Millennials and Gen Z. Who could be more of a red-blooded, home-on-the-range, apple pie, stars and stripes American than Superman after all? And yet, just like Superman, Henry Cavill is another legal alien, because Cavill is actually about as British as they come. Napoleon Solo, Clark Kent, John Lark, all these characters have Cavill's chameleon-like vocal camouflage in common. Even Geralt of Rivia is quite a bit more gravelly than what Cavill is accustomed to. But early on in his career, Cavill often admitted that he gets called a liar half the time when he uses his native accent in public.
I know you have a girlfriend now, but did you ever use your British accent on American girls at any point?
No, I didn't use anything like that. It just was myself, and I got called a liar half the time.
Okay, American girls are suckers for it.
Oh, they don't think it's real?
He is playing Superman. You don't really think Superman would have a British accent after all.
But are there any more stealth Brits who've flown under the radar and infiltrated the film industry recently? Well, here's someone else you can also find on Netflix these days who even had me fooled. But the strange thing was, I had no idea that this person was a Brit, even up until the 11th hour. Any guesses who I mean? I'm obviously talking about Millie Bobby Brown. Millie was born in Spain, but grew up in England, only moving to the US as recently as 2012, a mere 4 years before her debut on Stranger Things. And it looks like she still has a touch of the motherland to her accent.
I mean, if I said, Mike, I'd say it's Mike. I'd obviously have to give like, Mike, you know.
She's got a really good American accent.
Friends don't lie. Don't applaud that, that was awful.
Meanwhile, Daniel Kaluuya has come a long way from bit parts on British TV shows, and so has his voice work. Here he is on a British comedy show in 2006 with a truly atrocious American accent.
I ain't telling you nothing.
Check it out. White dude got some moves.
And here he is, over a decade later in Queen and Slim.
Do they know I'm black?
Should they?
You might wanna, you know.
Looks like as Daniel's career went transatlantic with films like Get Out and Widows, so did Daniel's accent. And more power to him. But his accent isn't without its critics. Critics like his own mother. It turns out she had some notes for the young star after he took her to the premiere of Get Out. I think she liked it. She went to the premiere and I said, "Mum, how is my American accent?" And she said, "Nearly there." That's honest. That is love and care. Brits. When it comes to actors with accents, there are some classic examples that almost everyone seems to know. But hard as it is to believe, there are still people out there who think Hugh Laurie sounds like this.
But no country can think that way. Every country thinks that they were issued with God issued them with an accent, and everyone else is just putting it on.
When he really sounds more like this.
For me, socks are like sex. Tons of it about, and I never seem to get any.
Considering he's an Oxfordshire lad who went to Cambridge and cut his teeth at their famous footlights, it's no surprise to us that he's the epitome of Englishness behind the scenes. But apparently, it was a shock to the producers behind House MD, who only wanted to audition Yanks for the show and were completely fooled by Laurie's flawless audition tape.
This tape, and he's speaking in flawless American. And with a great voice, and the tape and the scrag, and I turned to David and Katie and Paul, and I said, finally, I'm sick of foreigners. This is what we need. We need an American. This guy's got a voice. He's an American. He's American. I got up from behind my desk and I sat there, and then I said, and then they said, he's British.
Likewise, most people these days should know that this titan of the acting world,
no matter what the others promise to do, when it comes to the showdown, they won't be there.
Isn't actually American, especially since he's so renowned for transforming himself. I'm talking, of course, about Daniel Day-Lewis. Lewis's home country of Wales can rightly elevate him to the pantheon of actors that includes Richard Burton and Anthony Hopkins. However, what most people don't realise is that except for interviews and accepting masses of awards, you've never, ever heard his own accent in a single one of his roles. That's right, from as early as My Left Foot, where he doesn't talk at all, Lewis has been Irish, Scottish, all flavors of American, but he's never used his own voice. And since Daniel is a notorious method actor who never breaks character, we're not the only ones who've never heard his real voice. Every actor and crew member he's worked with has never interacted with the real Daniel either. So the next time you inevitably see him picking up an award at an award ceremony, getting yet another gong for his services, realize just how rare of a treat it must be to get to hear the real Daniel Day-Lewis's voice.
I do know that I've received so much more than my fair share of good fortune in my life, and I'm so grateful to the Academy for this beautiful honor.
But despite his country of birth, don't call this next actor Welsh. Even though he was born in the land of song, he's categorically stated, I was born in Wales, but I'm not Welsh. I'm English. We're talking about Christian Bale, who seems to dedicate everything he has to every role, voice included. Bale has embodied some of America's most beloved heroes like Batman or John Connor, but he's also portrayed some of the Land of the Free's most notorious anti-heroes and downright villains. Patrick Bateman or Dick Cheney, anyone? And yet, despite his dedication to the craft, as early as his days as paper hawker Cowboy Kelly in Newsies, Bale is yet another great example of a Brit done good. And it seems like the next Batman actor will be another Brit, Robert Pattinson. What is it about the Dark Knight and Englishman? Anyway, we go from someone whose real voice is a rarity to someone who forgot his original voice entirely. Gary Oldman spent so long in America working on American films and seemingly avoiding other expats that when he was asked to take on the role of British spy master George Smiley in one of my favourite films, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, he had to hire a voice coach. That's right, Oldman had been away so long, he needed someone to teach him his own accent.
Well, you'd be Smiley and then suddenly you'd hit like a hard R or something, or a weird sound would come out. So I needed to sort of have English lesson.
A bit surprising since a lot of young people know Oldman for his work as the quintessential Sirius Black in the Harry Potter series. As Oldman himself sheepishly admitted, I've lived in America for so long, my kids are American and that's what I hear around me every day. And occasionally weird sounds that I don't notice slip in. I had to brush up on my English. Aussies. And who do we see sharing the sofa on the Graham Norton show with Gary? Why, it's none other than Toni Collette. Last seen wowing audiences in recent horror films like Hereditary and Velvet Buzzsaw, Collette seems to have gotten around most of America when it comes to her vocal performance. The Sixth Sense? Philly AF. Little Miss Sunshine? Straight out of the land of enchantment, True Q, Albuquerque. But where's she really from and what does she really sound like? Well, many are truly shocked when they find out that Toni is actually from New South Wales and is authentically Australian, through and through. And speaking of Aussies, plenty of people recently certainly got to enjoy Margot Robbie's second outing as the inimitable Harley Quinn. But her big screen breakthrough saw her ditch her native accent in favour of a much more stereotypically American one. And if you've ever visited Brooklyn, I think you'll agree her work was flawless.
It's actually easier to do coming from an Australian accent than doing a standard American accent because, you know, there are no R's. So
give us an example.
Well, it's like, you know, like, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to her.
Exactly.
And, you know, you get your hands going.
How you do?
And, you know.
Do you have a dog?
Yeah,
I have a dog.
I have a dog and a cup
You
of
like
coffee.
Yeah, we're just having coffee. I'm giving you the coffee cup. You get to take the coffee cup home with
okay,
you.
You're so nice. You're gorgeous.
Oh, you're right back at you. Oh, I love you.
I love you.
However, it came as a shock to quite a few people when she made a brief cameo in a similarly financial, crime-themed caper immediately afterwards, called The Big Short. And if you've never seen it, well, what are you waiting for? It's fantastic. But okay, if you've never seen it, Margot Robbie, as herself, explains the issues of 2008's subprime mortgage crisis in her own foul-mouthed way, and it's hilarious.
He's going to short the bonds, which means to bet against. Got it? Okay. Now,
Quickfire round. Then there are the blokes who made it big in America just as the new golden age of television was really getting started. What do The Walking Dead, The Wire, and Sons of Anarchy all have in common? Well, they all feature Englishmen very prominently, all of whom play some of the most stereotypically American of roles. What could be more American after all than a gun-slinging sheriff on horseback reluctantly trying to protect a flock of followers against a horde of the undead? Well, The Walking Dead's Rick Grimes might be from King County, Georgia, but his alter ego actor Andrew Lincoln will have grown up singing God Save the Queen.
How long did it take you to get the Rick voice to prepare to get that, tone and that timbre?
I worked with an amazing dialect coach called Jessica Drake, who also David Morrissey and Elsie and and a few others that come on the show.
Okay, so how about the hard-boiled, hard-drinking Irish-American detective with a heart of gold trying to work within a corrupt system to bring about law and order, all the time knowing he's not so different from the criminals he chases? Gotta be Baltimore's not-so-finest Jim McNulty from The Wire. But while McNulty might be working Mobtown, his actor Dominic West hails from the UK's Steel City of Sheffield. You can even hear a hilarious moment where McNulty tries to go undercover as an Englishman in season 2 of The Wire.
You do any accents? English, British, Scottish, something like that?
Crikey. I was looking to get a little hanky-panky, and this one bloke gave me this number to call when I got across the pond.
Work on it, son. Work on it.
Big night for Jimmy McNulty, or should I say James Cromwell of Knightsbridge, Stepney, and Mersey.
Excuse me?
That's an Englishman playing an American doing a bad English accent. Could we call this accentception? Honorable mention. Okay, we've seen plenty of Brits and Aussies who've managed to pass as American, but are there any others who've managed to fool the English with their accents? For our final example, let me present the Doctor himself, who has, on occasion, been Scottish. And I'm not talking about Peter Capaldi, who didn't change up his native Glaswegian accent all that much. No, I'm referring to David Tennant, of course. As Tennant himself says, as part of my day job, which is pretending to be other people, I do occasionally have to assume another accent. And usually with a bit of practice and a bit of time, I can make a decent fist of them. I'll say. Many Doctor Who superfans, and even people familiar with David's time as Casanova or as Jessica Jones' nemesis Kilgrave, still find it hard to believe that Tennant's real accent was Scottish and not English. That is, until Broadchurch at least. Let's hope that the foul-mouthed, foul-tempered DC Alec Hardy may have finally convinced everyone that David Tennant is Scottish through and through. However, just don't ask him to play anyone South African.
I can start off all right, and it's not too bad, but it doesn't take very long, and suddenly I'm from Dudley. So I have to concentrate and try and wrestle it back, but it really can't hold on to it for very long. I just can't do it.
So, were you surprised by anyone on our list? Anybody you can think of whose native accent and media image doesn't exactly mesh? And how about me? Any guesses where I'm from originally, based on my accent? Write down your guesses in the comments below, and the winner gets the satisfaction of being right. And, as always, stay awesome.